is Mary Maslowski. I'm the chairperson of the Harwich Historic District and Historical Commission. I'm going to call to order the meeting for Monday, January 15th, 2020 at 6 p.m. here in the Dombey Griffin Room at Harwich Town Hall. As required by law, we're notifying you that the town will audio and video record this meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this meeting as well needs to notify the chair at this time. Hearing none, I would just like to start with a roll call.
Julia Eldridge.
Jean Steiner.
Gail Carroll.
Brendan Loney.
All right, so I'm going to call to order. The first item on our agenda is a public hearing. It's HH 2020-01. It's a notice of intent which has been received for 6 Chase Street. It's map 4, parcel N3 in the R-L zone. The application proposes partial demolition and replacement of a detached garage. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Chapter 131, Historic Preservation, Article 2, Sarah Williams as owner, Capizzi Home Improvement as applicant.
Good evening, good morning, I don't know. Capizzi Home Improvement is, you have the plan. We are going to, it's more of a restoration and preserving of a property because it's in really awful repair. And basically they're doing what they can to make it be what it is now, but yet it's ready to fall down pretty much.
Okay, and can you just state your name for the record for me?
Sorry. Jean Bowden. I work for Capizzi Home Improvement.
Okay, Jean, thank you.
I do their permitting.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us.
So if you look at the plan, we have page 1, and it's basically we're going to keep everything looking the same. Even the, we're going to remove and restore the hinge door. We're going to basically make everything to, look nicer and be safer. And we're going to remove some clapboard, and we're replacing it with the same. And I guess there's one wall that is going to have to be removed, and then just for structural purposes. It's more of a structural project because they're concerned it's not going to last through the winter otherwise, although we're pretty lucky now this time of year. So it was built, I don't know if this structure's built, this is old as the house, but I know the house is because I did research the deeds, and it mentions a farmhouse and a garage when you're on the old deeds.
Okay.
Or they called it a barn, so it could be the same barn. So, I don't know if you have any questions.
Okay, let's see. All right, so it looks like, let's start. It looks like the new walls that were going up are shown on page 4.
They are. It's hard to say with the.
But it's in the, it looks like it's the same layout
Exactly.
and on the same foundation?
Yeah. Well, they're going to be putting, it's going to be new, somewhat of a new foundation because it's crumbled. So they're going to have to do some things with the foundation, but it's not going to show or anything.
But it's the same footprint?
Absolutely. It's not going to change the size. It doesn't change anything.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Jean, you want to start?
I drove by and the house looks very nice.
Oh, the house is nice.
Yeah. I don't think you can see this.
Well,
very
actually, you
from
can.
an angle,
So
maybe.
at an angle, you
Yeah.
can't see very much of it
Yeah.
through it.
Sort of to the back, right?
Yeah, in fact, the plot plan will show that it is sort of to the, I gave you the little plot plan that the town actually had this, and it does show the structure of, like you can, I think you can see it a bit. I did like a Google Earth thing, and you can see a bit of that, but not very much.
Yeah.
And again, it's going to look the same except all spiffed up here. Give it a facelift. And I hope I'm sure they're going to keep the same color. I love the color of the door.
Yeah.
Any questions?
We're just fixing what's there.
It looks like the same size, just new, looks like new footings,
Yes.
on those 2 walls. And new siding, trim, doors. match existing, so,
Basically, they're gonna put some new sonotubes under it
yeah,
because
that's
it's,
the foundation work.
it's, you know, some of the new walls and.
Gail, any questions?
No.
We're in a public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from members of the public? Hearing none, if the board's ready to close the public hearing, I'll entertain a motion.
I so move.
All right, motion's been made to close the public hearing by Jean. Is there a second? Gail has seconded. All those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, it's unanimous. So, we are at a notice of intent, so our purview is to either approve the notice of intent, impose a delay, or continue. Or I guess we can't continue because we just closed the public hearing. So we can either approve or deny. It's the pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve the notice of intent as stated.
All right, we have a motion to approve the notice of intent as stated in the application made by Brendan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jean. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thanks, you're all set. We'll let the building department know.
And is there a wait before he can get started?
So the decision will have to get put together and signed by the board, and then you'll have to apply for the building permit.
Thank
All
you
right?
very much.
We'll let them know. All right. Second item on the agenda. Call to order the public hearing for HH 2020-02. It's a notice of intent which has been received for 96 Bank Street. Map 14, parcel W1-0 in the R-M zone. The application proposes installation of a bathroom window. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Chapter 131, Historic Preservation, Article 2, Bradley W. and Rosemary D. Baker as owners applicant. Hello.
Hi.
You could state your name for the record, please.
My name's Ian Jackson.
Hi, Ian. You represent the Bakers.
Yes, I do.
So if you could just go through the application for us.
Basically, I'm remodeling the bathroom, and they want to add a small window to the bathroom, roughly probably 30 by 30 or something. We're not sure exactly what size because we haven't actually demoed the bathroom yet. So it's going to be either a small double hung or an awning window to look like a double hung.
Okay.
And the exterior will stay like the clapboard is there, and then it'll have the historical sill and trim around it. And it's gonna go on either two locations, either the one side or the other side. I think there's shows, depends on the bathroom lays out for us.
Paper seems awfully thick.
So you're not doing anything to this structure that's here except putting in the window?
That's the only structural thing will be, if it's on one side, it's structural, because it's where the actual load of the roof is. So that would be typical header put in and stuff like that.
Right, but you're not changing that at all? This looks like a little addition that was put on
That's
at
the
some point.
bump out, that's the bathroom, actually.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So
No, we
it's
just want to
going
put a
in there.
window on either one side or the other, and basically, they would like to change the bathroom around, but I won't know until I got it because of the age of the structure.
Sure.
So it does look like the window, either location, it does look like you will be able to see it from the street, correct? Because
Oh,
you'll be
yeah,
able to
you
see it
will.
from Pleasant Street or
You'll
Bank
see it from the
Street.
side street, you'll probably see it from Bank Street.
All right. Any questions?
I mean, I think it's fine as long as they stay within the 2/1. That's there
What was
now.
there?
Yeah,
And is the board okay? It looks like it's a vinyl window. So we're not in the district, but it is a historic building, so.
So you're saying you like, to basically,
So 2/1, the sash.
is that what the house has right now?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly, yes. Mhm.
Okay, I mean, depending on the window, you should be able to get that grill pattern
Mhm.
on an Anderson window.
So that you have Pella marked here, I guess it wouldn't matter, but you think it'd be an Anderson or Pella? You haven't decided yet.
Yeah, some of the windows in the house are Pella, some are Andersons.
Mhm.
I like Andersons, I've used them for over 30 years, so.
Any comments or questions?
No?
That's why I say if it's a smaller window, I'm gonna go to awning, so it looks like a
Yeah.
double hung window versus a casement window.
Right.
So it goes back to the question that always comes up with the older homes, the applied grills or not.
Mhm.
So you could have removable grills, applied grills, you don't have to do a true divided light, but as long as it's an applied grill and it's 2/1 to match existing, I think that's fine.
So my only question is really for both you and you. If you don't know what the size of the window is yet, and then the placement of the window.
Yep.
My concern would just be the 2/1. I mean, if it's a big window,
It's not gonna
and
be
you're
that
talking a
big.
2/1.
It depends on the size,
It's
correct?
it's not gonna be a big window, because like I said, it's in a bathroom, so it's either gonna go over the toilet, or it's gonna be off to the side, so it's not gonna be,
So you're talking so not a double hung, an awning.
no, because it's probably gonna be somewhere like I said, 30 by 30, 28 by 20. I'm trying to make it square, so it looks more like
Mhm.
a double hung window, but
Mm-hmm.
normally in the bathroom, the smallest little double hung window they make is like 3.6 or something like that, so they,
Mhm. So, okay, because it's in an older building, would your client be willing to put, applied grills as Brendan suggested, as opposed to, the internal grills?
so you don't, you don't want the grills in between the glass.
That's correct.
So you want the wood-right windows with the grills.
Correct.
Yeah, if we can, that's if we can get them in that size window.
Right, and it depends if you do an awning, then you might just do one bar, or you can
Yeah,
do the cross, but so
Yep.
your choice. But, I mean, I don't think we need to have them come back once they select the window, as
Okay.
long as it's an applied grill to match existing. I think that'd be fine.
All right. Any other comments from members of the board? Then any comments or questions from members in the audience? Hearing none, we can close the public hearing if the board is ready. Any motion? All right. Julie's made a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Gail is seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
None in opposition, motion carries. So,
can I ask one question?
Sure.
On the book here?
Yeah.
On the grills? I'm pretty sure you can only do either, like on the awning to get a square window, is these kind of grills, so I was either gonna do that.
Yeah, I think that would be
And then the
fine.
casements, which we're not gonna do, you know what I'm saying, I'm doing an awning, trying to make it look more.
Right, it's just the application, you just threw me off because it said
They-
Appella double hung.
Yeah,
So it was
they-
probably just, now I understand what you're doing.
The only wanted to,
As long as it's an applied grill, you know, and not just your standard 400 series with, you know, a grill that can be removed. So
Okay.
if you're gonna put any kind of grill, just as long as it's applied on both sides.
that's what I wanted to correct.
That's it, okay? awesome.
Okay.
Great.
okay. So, Chair would entertain a motion on the application.
Motion to approve,
He's gotta do it.
notice of intent, for 96 Bank Street. I guess we just make a note, if there is going to be grills in that window, that it would be, an applied grill.
Can they do no grill at all? If it's,
Thoughts?
if it's,
If it's
well,
just
I'm
a-
just
Yeah.
It's really small.
wondering if it's small enough and they say we don't do applied grills to that size window, can we just do no glass? I'm just,
Yeah, I mean,
So I guess I'd suggest the motion have an alternate then, if that's the pleasure of the board. that it's either a small window that is a square window with no applied grill, or it's a larger window that's.
I
two
wanna
over
work with
one.
you guys, that's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's hard because we don't have the exact window
Right.
that you're putting in, so we're just, speculating.
But I don't see a reason getting an applied grill, I mean, I'm just,
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't want to put one in a really small window, because it would look odd, right?
Well, that's the issue,
Yeah.
just seeing it from the street. That's
So
why
if it's small and you can't get one to go with, if you wind up doing a small one that doesn't, that where you can't get the applied grill,
Yeah,
you wouldn't
I
want to
mean-
force fit something, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
obviously, you could do anything custom, but, I think the customer,
So-
any customer wants to try to find a stock item
Sure.
within the catalog.
So did we have a second on the motion so that we can discuss it?
alright,
I'll second
There you
it.
go.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I thought you were talking about a second window.
So I guess my suggestion, because we don't know the exact size of the window and he doesn't know the exact window he's gonna use, my suggestion would be that we either require the size with the applied grill to show it as 2/1, or we allow a smaller square window.
Right.
Is that,
I think
Is
that's
that-
fine,
I
yeah.
think that's fine.
Have to do, yeah, for now.
because and the only reason is it is something you can see from the street in an older building, and that's
Yeah.
kind of consistent with what we've asked people to do. So are you okay with amending the motion? Are you okay with amending the second?
Yes.
Okay, so then we have a motion on the floor to approve the notice of intent for 96 Bank Street in accordance with the application, with a window for the bathroom that either has applied grills in the 2/1 format in accordance with the other windows in the building, or if the window is small enough, a smaller square window can be grill-less, I guess is the way I would phrase it. Does that work for everyone?
Sounds good.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion carries. So we'll write that up and let the building department know.
okay, so I'm all set?
You're all set.
Alright, thank you, have a good night.
You too. Okay, the next item on the agenda.
This is the one that I'm gonna have to recuse myself. so-
Okay, so Mrs. Eldridge needs to recuse herself, so we will move forward with the four. I'm going to open the public hearing for HH 2020-03. It's a notice of intent that's been received for 12 Seabreeze Avenue, map 6B, parcel E1-10 in the R-H-2 zone. The application proposes 100% demolition and rebuild of a single-family dwelling. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Chapter 131, Historic Preservation, Article 2, McSweeney Family Realty Trust, care of Stephen McSweeney as owners, Thomas More Design Company as applicants.
Good evening, Thomas Moore from Thomas Moore Design Company and Steve McSweeney.
Hello.
So we are looking to raise and replace the house at 12 Seabreeze Ave.
Okay.
Yeah, this original house, I believe, according to the town records, was built in 1910, the assessor's records. I think in maybe the historical documents, it was maybe 1904, so I'm not sure exactly whether it's 1904 or 1910. But it's over 100 years.
more than 100.
Yeah. And it's a gambrel style. I think in the package there's kind of a list of the people that have owned this house since it was built. And it's a house that fronts on two streets. It fronts on Seabreeze Ave and Windermere Bluffs Road. Gambrel style house with a porch, and the house that we'll be looking to build is almost a replica of what the well, I wouldn't say a replica exactly, but it's a very similar style, the same style house. We're looking to rebuild a gambrel with a porch on it. And I do have some copies of the design that we've got started with, if you'd like to see that.
Yes, please.
I submitted as far as the package. And I'm sure you've all been out to see the house. Yes. This just gives you an idea as compared to the pictures, that's why I put those up there. So the reason behind it, certainly the raise and replace is because of the state of the existing house. Yeah, in the report that was, we had done by a structural engineer, he was talking about the whole house being completely reworked in some manner, from the foundation. There's not much of a foundation underneath the house. There's just a small portion on the back side, on the Windermere Bluff side of the house. There's a small basement, but the rest of it does not have a foundation underneath it, not a poured concrete foundation or a concrete block foundation. It's a bunch of piers, I believe, but the plumbing systems, mechanical systems, all that would be updated. There's been a lot of settling. There was, in the tornadoes last summer, 3 trees fell on the house on one side, on the Windermere Bluff side, and there was a lot of repair that had to be done there. Some of the existing structure opened up and so forth. So, again, we're looking to rebuild this house, demolish the existing house and rebuild a new one of a similar style structure. In that package of plans there's a floor plan there that you can, there's a highlight section that shows kind of the overlay. The highlighted section is the existing house. To give you an idea of, where there'll be a little bit of expansion, and that's, the design is, we're still working on the design on part of it. But the main portion of the house, or the front of the house on Seabreeze, will pretty much look the same. We'll be moving it back a little bit from the Seabreeze Street side by a few feet, but the Windermere Bluff side, at least at this point, is pretty much right where it is right now. And the gambrel style that we're going to be looking to kind of bring that through the house, that back side of Windermere Bluffs is kind of a chopped up roof line. So we're looking to clean that up some.
So, just to clarify, it looks like you're adding more to the, if I'm looking at the front of the house, you're adding more to the right-hand side? What I'm looking towards?
That's correct.
So adding that's where the laundry room and the...
Those are not final plans at this point.
No, I understand that, I understand that. But
But that was the idea,
the
yes.
initial design is to bump out a little bit on the right-hand side.
Yours are highlighted? Let's see, mine are not.
It's on A5?
Yeah, mine wasn't highlighted. Just real quick, yeah.
Yep,
That's okay.
Apologize for that. I
No,
thought
that's
I got
okay.
them all.
Yeah, I got it. That's perfect, thanks.
So any questions or comments from members of the board to start off with? Jean?
Well, in driving around the neighborhood yesterday, I noticed that the existing house is very iconic to what is on other streets in the area. And I do like the fact that you've really made a huge attempt to keep the look and feel of the existing house in the new plans, but it just strikes me that it's going to be much grander. This is kind of a simple, cottagey look where, there's a big open porch. It just strikes me as, an older family-style vacation home. And as I drove around, I could see that there's some wear and tear on it, and you can see maybe a little bit of rot, but it didn't look that bad. Of course, have not seen the inside, but the outside, and I'm not an architect, but it looked like it might be something that could be preserved in some manner.
Brendan?
To the board, just if we can go back, it was maybe a couple months ago that I believe it was 7 Seabreeze that came to us. Similar situation, similar drawings. And I know every application is unique and we don't really have a precedent, but in this case, it's almost the exact same situation, and we did deny that application. And just something to think about, the reasons why we did that then, and if it should be applied here as well.
Was that particular project put on a delay, or because?
It was put on a delay.
Okay.
Exact same, I think it's 7, so it's right across the street, down to the right, a little bit closer, near the open field.
In a denial, would that be the same case here? It would, if that was the case?
If we were to vote tonight, yes.
Yeah.
So the thing to keep in mind is that it requires 4 votes to either
4 votes,
approve.
yeah.
To either approve or to impose the demo delay, so. So unfortunately, because of those of us
4
here
of you,
tonight,
right.
it requires a unanimous vote for either way.
From the discussion we had then, it was very similar to what Jean said. That house has a really good feel. The reason why newer homes are designed is because those homes are there. And I think if we went down a path where the homes are all replaced, then they're removed from the 100-year protection. And then, years down the road, those homes can be removed and we lose this gambrel look. And that's the whole thought process behind it last time. So I don't know if we really conveyed that last time as much, but I think that's my take on it.
Well, it's kind of what makes Harwich Harwich. It has a
Right.
lot of nice older homes. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
as
know that you had the engineer's report. Have you given thought to what it would take to put a basement under it and then?
I think in reading through that, certainly people put foundations underneath homes, and it happens all the time in Harwichport. Yeah, I think the idea we went behind this was to try to do as much as we can to replicate what is there. Because it's been in McSweeney's family for 40 years.
Yeah.
So, as much as it might be nice to try to save it, there's a lot of work that would have to go into it to get it up to today's codes and, the way people live nowadays. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible, but I think the desire here is for us to try to rebuild something that's, so it looks like it's been there, or like it's replacing what is there. If, as far as the design, we are still working on this design. I think the most important thing for us was that front look with the porch on it, and that will still be maintained, and we will still maintain the gambrel style. The windows are gonna be very similar to what is currently right there. It'll just be a brand-new structure.
I think we'd all agree the rear of the house is not very appealing. It's been added on to
Right.
several times over the years. I also, if I may, just add, I'm familiar with 7 Seabreeze. I own the home at 8 Seabreeze currently. And you cannot compare the condition of 7 Seabreeze to 12. It may look okay driving by, but I can assure you, if you went inside, you'd see the damage that's there. It does not compare.
So, if it's the pleasure of the board, if the applicant was willing, we could continue this for a month. And if people are willing to go in and take a look, if you'd be willing to show people the home. I know it's a delay, but it's not a 12-year delay, a 12-month delay, and take a look. I don't recall whether we had a full engineer's report on 7 Seabreeze myself.
I believe
the top of my
I
head.
don't think there was, yeah.
So that that is also a factor for me, because somebody put their stamp to it. So I personally do give that a little bit of deference, because, you know, I'm not the structural engineer going in and looking.
Right.
So, is that something you'd be willing to do, to
Yes, yep,
continue it for a month and let people go in and take a look? We can organize that through the office. If you want to give us a telephone call, you can ask for Amy, she's our assistant. And if you give her some times that you'd be available for people to schedule to come through and take a look, if the both of you are available
Yeah,
to.
'cause I have a key, so if
Okay.
Stephen can't be there,
All
I
right.
certainly can, we
So
can
if you
make
just,
arrangements to do
Amy
that.
Banford's our assistant, so she can coordinate that with the four of us. So that somebody came in and take a look. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak? Greg?
Yeah, my name is Greg Winston. I actually went down and looked at the property this afternoon, and I spoke with the abutters, Bethany Craig and her husband, and it is a sizable lot, and it's a very quintessential building as it exists. I do clearly see that to keep up with what's going on in the neighborhood, foundation and so forth would be necessary. However, I wasn't able to have time to get into the building department to see the plans for the new building that's proposed. But given what you as a board have done over the last 2 years, riding around the neighborhood today and visiting, the neighborhood's improving, and it's improving, and it's improving. Since back in the days when Gail and Jeannie and I were on the board, it was a challenge, you know, what was going on down in the campgrounds, Ocean Grove. And I think I see so much improvement. As I say, I have not seen the plans for the new building. And as I've always observed that there is more land because they're actually over toward Windermere Bluff, between Windermere Bluff and Seaview. But the design of the existing home is so appropriate for the neighborhood. I'd hate to see something drastically change. I'm not going to give any more opinion than that, but I would like to have a chance to look at the design, and I would like to have, hopefully, the owners and the board work together to work out the streetscape and the design that fits in with the neighborhood, and not try to put a demolition delay on it if not possible, but have the owners and the board work together so that everybody can be happy. Thanks.
So just to clarify, I believe they are still in the design process, so that's one
Yeah,
of the questions.
we have not submitted any plans to the building
Understood.
department. I offered these as more of a, you know, kind of a, give you an idea of what we were thinking about as far as what
Appreciate
we're
that,
trying to
too.
replace it with.
So, any other comments from the audience? Any other comments from the board? Then I would entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to, let's see. I can't call it my calendar.
It's would be February 19th.
The third Wednesday, February 19th. So I would entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to Wednesday, February 19th at 6 PM. Will anybody make that motion?
So moved.
So Gail has made the motion. Is
Second.
there a second? There's a second from Brendan. So the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So 4-0, we'll continue until next month, and if one of you can call the building department, we'll try and work out some visits.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda, I'd like to call to order the public hearing for HH 2020-04. It's a notice of intent that's been received for 515 Route 28, map 14, parcel Q11-1 in the C-V zone. The application proposes an 8-foot by 10-foot addition. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Chapter 131, Historic Preservation, Article 2, Gray House Property Management Trust, Kathleen Meyer as owner applicant. Hello.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Ferry. I'm the contractor for this project.
Hello.
And
Kathleen.
Kathleen Meyer.
Hello, welcome. If you could just go through your application for us.
Okay, what we're proposing is an 8-by-10 small addition in the right rear corner of the house. Meets all setback requirements. It's going to be an office, I think.
Yes.
It's going to be office space that they kind of need in this area, give them a little more room.
Now, I drove by, I didn't think you could see it from
cannot
any of
see
the
that.
sides, right?
It's kind of obscured from the road. It's
Stuck
in the back right-hand corner, so.
So, any comments or questions from members of the board? Brendan, nothing? Jean, anything?
No, I don't see any impact at all.
Okay. Julie?
No, no. Nope.
I asked around. Any members of the public that wish to comment? Okay. If it's the board all set? No questions? So if no questions, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
So Jean's made the motion, Gail has seconded. All those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Motion carries, 5-0. And the board would entertain a motion on the application.
I move to accept the application, as requested, where is it? To build out the existing wall of 10 foot 2 inches that will go in the rear of the building. of the
Okay,
existing
so there's a
building.
motion to approve the application to build out an addition in accordance with the application on the rear of the building. Is there a second?
Second.
So motion's been made by Jean, seconded by Gail. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
None in opposition, motion carries. We're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right, the next item on our agenda is the public hearing for HH 2020-05. It's a certificate of appropriateness, which has been received for 721 Main Street, map 41, parcel D5-1, in the C-V and the Harwich Center Historic Districts. The application proposes the installation of new signage. The application is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40C, Section 6 in the Code of the Town of Harwich, Chapter 131, Historic Preservation, Article 1. Alan Rogers is owner, Sanal Patel is applicants.
Hello,
Hello, sir.
how are you?
Please state your name for the record.
For the record, my name is Howard Cahoon. I'm an attorney representing Samil Patel this evening. I can report to you that the owner, Mr. Adam, what is your name? Alan Rogers, I guess, can speak for himself. No. Mr. Rogers is here in support this evening. I believe this is a attractive sign. I think it'll fit in with the neighborhood. I had to Google the word exterior to see exactly what it means, but it's a wood product. The vinyl is in keeping with Ruggy's sign down the street. Anyway, we would ask your approval.
I think we're missing
I think we're missing it.
a
Yeah.
picture of the sign.
Cool. Really?
Do you happen to have a copy by any
Don't
chance?
you? No.
We have nothing, no picture attached.
Yeah, I double checked everything, I didn't see it.
You're kidding. I saw the file this morning, and it was,
Let me look.
I didn't see it
I do
anywhere.
have
I
it on
went through
file.
twice.
405. Let's see, maybe it's in the file and didn't get copied. Yeah, yep, that's where it is.
You got it? There's copies.
Yep, and there are all the copies.
I should have brought mine.
It's okay.
We got something.
Thanks for saying you have them.
You're welcome.
So I'm gonna ask the question, fluorescent red and glossy black.
Excuse me?
Fluorescent red and glossy black. Does,
What do you think?
not seeing fluorescent red or what glossy black looks like, it,
I think that the fluorescent red looks like the border around Ruggy's sign that's out front.
I'm gonna trust Brendan to call that up for us. You have a bigger,
I mean, we have this picture, but
right.
But that's
The
not
other place.
fluorescent.
no. Like, are we talking like high vis?
What's that?
Are we talking high vis, like high vis,
I don't know.
you know, like,
This is going in between the two posts where the temporary sign is now?
Yes.
Okay. That would be good to know what the color is.
Yeah, the color is tough. Give me 1 second, I had to see it a different way.
I'm trying to find out what's called.
Fluorescent to me sounds like neon, and glossy sounds awfully shiny to me for the historic district, but that's, and it's hard to see without, it's hard, obviously, paper is not vinyl.
Sorry, this is not going my way here.
Well, there's some for you.
That's bright.
That's bright.
It's a bright red, I think.
I finally got it. So it's the Ruggies red.
Okay. Yeah, you're gonna talk
Very,
the same
there's
thing.
the neon, yeah.
Yeah. And this is called fluorescent.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it was,
Looks the same.
if it was, yeah, similar to Ruggies. I'm always worried to hit the
Thoughts from
screen.
members of the board? Julie?
Me?
Thank you, yes.
I mean, I'm fine as long as it's not like a shocking, like a hot pink sort of
Yeah.
I think it's too bright.
color.
Brendan?
Are we okay with the high-performance vinyl, all vinyl sign? So are you talking the posts, the caps, and the detail, the pediment across top will all be in a vinyl?
It was my impression that the vinyl was really just the lettering.
The lettering.
Okay,
So the sign's actually wood.
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
And the posts are the existing posts, right? Which are
Yeah,
wood?
the-
Yeah,
I don't
Which I
think
think are wood.
I think so.
they're wood.
See, it doesn't say. And the lettering
I
can
just
be
worry
vinyl
about
across.
large vinyl lettering. I worry about the large vinyl lettering. Large, compared to everything else that we have.
So it looks like it's wood now,
Yeah.
you know.
1 inch.
have a question, Joe?
I'm just, 1-inch extira, E-X-T-I-R-A, the materials,
That's the name of the material. It's a wood product.
okay,
It's, I guess, 1 inch thick.
that was my question, I don't, so it's a wood product.
I hate to be a jerk. Is there any way we can see a sample of it? I'm sorry.
I didn't bring one with me, I can tell you that. Absolutely.
Could we,
A sample of what? The color?
Or even the measurements of the letters?
yeah, the
and
measurements of the letters with the vinyl sample, just to get a sense of how,
Impactful.
thank you, that's a good word, impactful it's gonna be when you're, we're.
Driving down the street, you're gonna have to go off the road?
Right,
I mean,
'cause there is a temporary sign there, which,
will suffice for the moment, I guess.
I think the difference is too, this is gonna be more at eye level
level
or
as
below,
opposed to-
where the Rebbe's one
Mhm.
is up
Higher.
higher, so.
and it's a
even
lot
if
smaller,
it
it's
is-
significantly
yeah,
smaller.
Yeah,
The Ruggies one, I don't think is,
The Rugby's a pretty good sized sign.
but the red on it is not as,
may not be as bold.
Mhm. A little thinner, you mean?
Yeah, because this will be on a
Yes.
white background.
Well, and the lettering may not be as,
Bold.
yeah,
It's a
large,
different font size.
large.
Different font to different font size,
Right.
different,
Do you meet before the next month? No?
I don't know whether we can schedule something. Would people be available for
I just say we have a sign there. I mean, it's not the
next
end of
week
the
or the
world.
week after?
Mhm.
And if you're not gonna, that's fine.
It would need to be the 5 of us, so.
I'm not here from the 29th, so I can meet again before the 29th if you want to do it before the end of this month.
Okay.
next week,
If
Anybody
it's an,
else?
if it's an imposition, that's fine.
next week's kinda tough.
Let's have people check schedules and see.
Between now and the 27th.
So that's next week.
Is the 15th, so anytime next week or Monday. Oh, Monday we can't get this room, right?
Monday's a holiday, it'll be
Yeah, Monday's a
closed, I
holiday.
think, right?
Monday the 20th holiday, so
Mary, what are we looking
We
for?
couldn't do it before Thursday of next week,
we can't.
But I can't do it Thursday.
Um,
because we'd have to post
Yeah.
posting
For a week.
tomorrow
for a week in
and
advance.
Friday and Tuesday would have to
How
count.
about the 27th,
Is the 27th?
Monday?
That's a Monday. Can we go in the smaller room, couldn't we? Is that available?
But isn't the Monday meeting at 7? Or is it,
No, I think we could probably sneak in beforehand.
yeah, because if we're only having the
Do the one
one
item.
issue.
As a special sort of meeting?
It's a,
Would you call it a special meeting? Is
Yep.
that what you-
Yeah,
And everyone wants to see the color, that's the,
So, yeah, that's what I wanna know.
What
What
the
do
sign
we,
really looks like, I think.
I'm worried about the color with the scale of the sign.
color and scale of letters, right?
Yeah.
right.
That's the red. The black you don't have a problem with. That's pretty
Well, I
standard.
think it would be good to see the whole thing.
Want to see the black
together.
too?
If we can, yes,
Yeah.
because then we can see if the glossy, so.
Kind of a mock-up of some sort would be good.
It's just, obviously, the color copy isn't gonna do the shine justice on it, and, it's across the street from the Victorian building too, so keeping in mind what's around it.
So the color of the red and black and so we need
The
hopefully
scale.
an action, and the scale of the letters. In other
Yes.
words, the size and
So like if, the sign's X big, the royal letter is gonna be
how
6
big.
inches, 8
Yeah.
inches.
Yeah, I think it's more just the red color than the black isn't really.
I think you want to see the glossy, though. At least I would like to see it if we could,
definitely,
yeah.
yeah, and is it
See
gonna
how
be
it just-
recessed like the sign that's now? Is it gonna be just a sticker, or is it gonna
No,
be
it's going to be sort of engraved or,
engraved in there,
Yeah.
just like the computer sign that's there now?
yes. But anyway,
I just think that'd be easier to see.
that's fine.
So is the members of the board able to meet on the 27th?
Yes.
6 o'clock?
We can, 6 work for everybody?
Span, yep,
It's the 27th, you said?
The 27th, what day is that for me?
a Monday.
Monday.
Thank you. So that I can, get it posted.
Yes.
Do it here though, because don't the Board of Selectmen meet in here?
We can probably sneak in next door.
Okay.
So if you're okay, we will, I'll
Sure.
entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to Monday, January 27th, no earlier than 6 PM. It will either be in this room or in the small conference room.
Perfect.
And just a sample of the,
And yes, and that's, we'll hopefully be able to take a vote at that point.
So sample of color and size of the
Yes.
letter.
of the letters.
So like a mock,
Is that okay?
Yes.
It could be a
kind of
mock-up.
a mock
So
would be
moved.
great.
So moved. Thank you. Is there a second? Gail made the motion.
Second.
Brendan seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're continued to January 27th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda. We'll open the public hearing for HH 2020-06. It's a certificate of appropriateness, which has been received for 703 Main Street, map 40, parcel Y3, in the C-V and the Harwich Center Historic Districts. The application proposes the installation of new signage. The application is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40C, Section 6, and the Code of the Town of Harwich, Chapter 131, Historic Preservation, Article 1. Brian Drucker as owner, Robert Young as applicant.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi. So we are proposing this signage for the Seal Pub and Cafe.
Yes.
Basically, we're proposing to replace existing signage. I had given you some different drawings in the initial discussion period that had more colors in them, and we've been trying to, clarify them down. And also our window banners is not included because we wanted to make those a little smaller and classier, and there were some banners in there and language or lettering that I wanted removed. So that's not before you tonight. What's before you tonight are these signs, and I think they should be self-explanatory from the front page. Our graphics guy is very familiar with historic standards. We met with the fire department on our ingress and egress and our 4 public doors and what we were allowed square footage wise. And so I think we've come up with a classy design that we would like that can create an anchor building here, give us kind of a classic pub cafe style restaurant. We're using existing lighting, although we may put we're going to see how that works out. We may target it a little more, that sort of thing. We do plan to come back before you. We want to do some black shutters on there to make the building more historic. And so that's really our goal, is to make this kind of an anchor historic pub cafe building that anchors and showcases the entrance to Harwich Center. And with the way the roads intersect, you kind of lose if you see the current signage, it washes out, especially if it's snowing, it just goes white, you don't even see it. And so we feel we can add that tastefully with appropriate size and signs, and hopefully you'll agree with us.
So we're talking 3 signs, correct?
Yes,
One hanging that you're going to see if you're walking the sidewalk,
right.
which is in keeping with.
Actually, we have 4 signs.
Okay,
in
so we
this
have the
application.
hanging,
The
we have-
hanging and the one above it.
and the one
is
above it
included.
that would face you if you're walking in the front door.
Right,
The one over that kind of side,
the railing, something we
that's what
call
you're
it.
calling the railing.
Right,
All right.
and then the hanging sign that would hang over the sidewalk.
So I'm still only seeing 3.
You only see 3. Where's the 4th?
It should be in your, you don't have a first page that has it?
So we have,
We have these 2?
so I see this one above the door that I'd look at if I'm walking in.
Okay,
I have the hanging one that's this white line here
That's
that you're gonna
double-sided.
see if,
and then you see the one on the railing?
Yep.
and then the railing,
Three,
you're talking
one,
about this
two.
one that's up here.
Okay, I'm sorry, you're right, 3. I'm not asking for 4.
Okay.
Okay, so it probably is 4 if it's two-sided, I get it.
Yeah, okay.
It's hanging, yeah.
Yeah, but it's hanging. Does the square footage all work within the sign ordinance? Have you worked that out with?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
actually under square footage on
Okay.
that because we have 4 public entrances.
Okay. We don't usually see that much signage.
I
So
understand
I
that.
just asked
and
the
I-
question to make sure.
I understand that, and I don't want to oversign. That's not my intention. My intention is to make it a classic signed building. And we think we need this, and we think the town would benefit too, because it'll be seen.
So I'll start with questions from members of the board or comments from members of the board.
I have a
Jean.
question and a comment. The comment is I really like the design. I think
Oh, well,
it's
thank you.
very, it's unique, it's different from anything else that's in the town, and I think it's very appealing. I had one question about the one that is going over the front door.
Mhm.
And this is, Amber alerts are going off on
Oh, is that
Oh, gosh,
everything.
is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah. No, I've got it.
Mine's not
buzzing
even
on
going
mine,
off,
too.
so I mean, what does that say?
So I can see that you have it centered over the door.
Right.
But I'm wondering if it wouldn't look better if it was centered in the middle of the,
Well, the problem is the
The
door
window.
isn't centered on the
I
house.
understand
not
that.
centered.
Well, the issue with that was, as
Could it
you
be-
might remember, these were 2 different shops. The bar was
Right.
on one side, and left was a retail shop.
Right.
So the building isn't actually symmetrical on the windows. And this is raised up above so that it can have, the hanging sign can have enough room to hang. And not jumble the signs together. And if you look at the side view down below, you see that he's got a new hanger than the one that is there that is sturdier.
Right.
And we are using the same, he describes the materials that we're using. I'm not going to be an expert on this. I like this graphic designer. He's worked with many people around the area. And he tends to know what he's doing that will last. The current signage there, what we're finding now is that it's none of it's usable, not even to paint over or to remove and use as backing because it's peeling and falling apart. So I don't think it was a quality job the first time. And I'm after something that's gonna hold its color, hold its size and shape, and for many years through weather.
Can I ask the question? It looks like the hardware over the top is painted black
Yes.
metal, okay. Which is consistent with
Mhm.
right down the line, so that looks great. Were you all set, Jean?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks.
Any other?
I like the sign, love the sign. Location, I think to Jean's point, because it's not centered and it's kind of square, any thought of just having this as a sign where you get rid of the black? So it
And
softens, and rather than putting a square box, you get my gist?
in which sign are you speaking?
On both of the bigger signs.
He's saying on the one that's above you're talking shape it as
Oh, I
opposed
see
to
what you're
making
saying.
it square?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that
lose
could
the
be,
black.
I'm open to toning that down.
Actually,
Now that you point that out, I
Only
didn't.
because it's the dark line, and it just takes away from the.
Well, part of my problem is white sort of disappears.
Oh, right.
And so I would rather, I think a blue or a black or something like that, yeah, would be fine.
Even if you outlined the white in a black, if you did a double line, so where you've got the arc in white, if you put an arc in black around it, but just so
And-
that you
and get
don't
rid of
have the
the-
big black squares is what you're talking about
Get rid of
on
the
the upper
corners.
left and the upper right,
Yeah.
No, I
because
like
it takes away from the house.
I like your idea that, though. I didn't really catch that, but I'm not a fan of white, simply because I want to change it. So that works for me. And also, we do want to do shutters, so that's going to naturally
Yep.
go with that.
architecturally correct shutters that go on the building will actually pick up the black in the sign. I agree with you, Mary.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's really hiding
And I
the
have a
middle
better
windows.
picture of the sign. and-
Well, that's
It's really
gonna-
Brendan getting rid of the corners, that's what it really is.
No,
Well,
I'm
you're just
fine.
adding lines in there that, don't.
No, I
It's just a-
didn't even notice that until you brought that up. I've been so focused on everything else, the stars, I want them to pop more, the seal. We've been, Greg even brought it
Seal
up
is
because he needs
It's a
more
cute seal.
I
whiskers.
like
I think
the
it's great.
seal.
So, we're.
No, it's a great
My-
little
my
design.
dog's
It's just,
excited.
it's different,
I like
right?
it a
It's
lot.
not,
Yeah,
it's
well-
like nothing else, so that's always great. It's nice to see something new.
Yeah, well, we're glad, thank you very much. We're excited to be coming in here, we're pushing as hard as we can.
And it is a unique building where it isn't
It's
symmetrical.
Yeah,
It's
it's
so,
not, yeah.
like, you look at it and you go, oh, the window's bigger, oh, the window's off-center, oh, the,
We've been fighting
doors.
with that.
One thing that's
Constantly.
interesting about it is that, as I'm walking down the street, you know, we're talking about signage, and you're gonna be obviously dealing with this when it comes down the pike for the signage. I don't think that's been approved yet for the convenience store. But as you're walking down the street, you'll see the Ruggie sign, and I heard you refer to the Ruggie sign earlier this evening. And then you see the tile store sign, which is so appropriate. It's a small sign, but it's so appropriate. And then you come to the red sign, and it's just tacky. So, I mean, this is such an upgrade.
it's a cute sign.
And the goal is, yes, to make the seal as cozy and cuddly as he can be. To, you know, I think that, and the stars will be bright gold.
Yeah, the stars I want to pop more, so there'll be gold leaf or whatever he's doing on that, because I want those, but you're right about the white, and I didn't notice that. So I will get on that.
Now,
So
yes,
it would look like this
Pretty much, but
with a.
with a
a
stronger border.
Stronger,
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll get rid of the white.
I like that a lot.
The white's hard to keep clean anyway.
That's true.
It is, that's what I've noticed about these signs.
you notice the building, I'm sure you have
Yeah,
the same issue
well,
with the
he's-
building, right?
You know what, he's promised me, because we're doing this, that he's gonna power wash it in April.
There you go.
And so we hope then to put the shutters up, so I guess we'll be back before you. And I guess I'll have to come back on the decals as soon as I get the final on those signage.
For the windows.
Yeah, the windows we're well within our square footage, but, we'll come back for that.
And I would just point out that there are also some people have started doing the sidewalk signs, so those all come under the same thing too. So those
Yes,
come
I
under
do
your
have-
square
He
footage.
did draw one up for us, but I didn't feel it was appropriate to apply tonight for that. And that's because we want to open at 6 AM for espresso, and so that sign would go out in the mornings and be pulled back.
Well, it's been an issue with many locations, but I just point out that signage counts towards your
Right.
total. So just
We
keep
were
that in
told-
mind if you're
We were told I had
contemplating that.
At 144 square feet of signage, and I was at about 75 right now, without the decals. So,
On the math, I don't
Well,
know the math
it's
on
not-
off the top of my head,
Right.
what's allowed,
And
but
the-
I just point that out because they've become very popular in the last couple of years,
Yeah.
particularly down in the port, and they've also become a
yes.
point of contention.
You're talking the window decals.
No,
Sign,
the
A-frames.
A-frame
Oh, of
signs,
course,
Right.
I remember that
The
conversation.
sandwich
yes,
sign.
A-frames, so those will count too, along with the decals
Well,
and
we
everything
want
else,
as many as
so.
the port has, so I'm gonna tell you that right now.
So, any other questions, comments from the board? Is the
it's
board comfortable voting it tonight as described? Okay, so then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
A motion.
Julie's made the motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Jean seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
None in opposition, motion carries. So I'll entertain a motion on the application. Who wants to take a stab at it?
With all the
Anyone? Brendan, you want to take a stab at it?
Motion to approve 703 as stated on the application with, how are we gonna describe the removing the black, or if that's even a
I
mandatory?
think you wanna add the black, correct?
Add the
We're
black.
gonna add black, replace white with black.
Did you want to replace the white with black, or did you want black around the white?
I think it would look nice with.
Well, we
white.
getting rid of the
So
corners?
I would like to get rid of the
You gonna
white.
soften the
Get rid of
corners?
it?
Let's have a
be all right.
second. Can we have a second?
Yeah, second.
Second, we'll revise in a minute for discussion. So I was thinking you were gonna shape the sign more like
Yes.
this, so that you weren't gonna have the square corners at the top. That's what I was thinking, so that you'd see more of the building behind it.
Well, the
And
way
then
I,
you
the
could-
way I was hearing it was that you wanted all signs, the white removed, or the white go to black.
So I think what
Which I'm-
Brendan, I
Which
think,
I'm fine with on all of them.
so I think what Brendan's comment was, is when you look at the,
The top
if you look at this one, right?
Yeah,
You've got all this black space here on the upper left and the upper right, that you don't see the building behind it. And it doesn't really do much for your graphic design, I don't think. So I was thinking you could
Can I see
outline the,
Can I look at the copy you're speaking of?
sure.
Just because-
So see how this, to us, it looks like that's your whole sign, you've got all this black here. So
Oh, that-
what I was saying was you could you
cut
could
the
put,
sign,
you
so
could-
Oh,
that.
wait a second,
shape
he
the sign.
copied and pasted the block into the space.
that's what he did.
I was gonna
Okay.
say,
You're good
Never
to go.
mind.
You're all set. You're all set.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah, there
All
you
right,
go,
there you
yeah.
Perfect.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
You were holding out on us.
Yes, yes, thank you.
I don't think I still like the white.
So
I
I
don't
was,
think I wouldn't have a
You see how,
preference.
you see
Yeah.
how the bright, white's too bright?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
I
wouldn't
agree.
have a preference if it was white, black, or border.
I think we
just,
should go with black.
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
The
I would
black
like
would
to
be
get it
nice
approved
with the
tonight.
black shutters.
Sure.
Yes.
So that's what it was. It was just a
And
copy.
I
and
apologize
paste.
for that.
no, not at all.
That
Um,
is so
Amy, and
funny.
We got enough of this, so
I
apologize.
And I guess I'd say I wouldn't care if it was white and black
Yeah, I
around
would-
it, like, however,
I'd like to tone the white down. if
just
it's
as long as
fine.
I think the shape is what I was more looking
Yeah,
at.
we were.
That's a preference. I mean, the white's just standing out because it's
Right.
against it.
I don't, the white's dirty, will get dirty, and I want I'd prefer a gray or
Sure.
black.
Yeah,
Let's go with
Sure.
that.
that's fine. All right.
So then we have a motion on the floor to approve the signage as included in the application,
With no, yeah, with no other.
As applied, yeah.
As of, yeah.
as applied in the application.
Mhm.
So Brendan's made the motion, who seconded, I'm sorry?
I think
it
I
Jean?
did,
Did you say
yes.
So Brendan and Jean, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, it's unanimous.
Thank you
Well,
very
we
much.
figured it out.
One question, Mary, Chair. We want to ultimately do architecturally correct shutters on the windows, so if you're looking at that, if you bring that picture back up again.
Yep.
With the signage, the sign that you have is, I'm actually doing the signage, and this is kind of how I see it as being a little richer. So I'm going to try to speak to my friend and see, I'm thinking that on those signs that you're talking about here, that the black should definitely be there, but this background is going to be very dark too, so that a hair of white might be necessary as a pin line of
Yeah.
white,
Yeah.
and then go to the black.
Yeah.
Is that?
That's what I
Right.
was originally thinking, that you'd
I think
outline the
it-
white with the black,
Yeah,
but,
because
but-
with the black shutters that are going to go on these three
Yeah, the
windows,
black would,
you know, they're gonna be architecturally correct
together.
shutters, they'll be sizable. The building, we just want the building to be a spectacle when you look at it, you know,
Yeah.
it's
I think we,
We were
I think we
concerned
were
about the
fine with,
Too, the detail, I mean,
we were
we're
just,
obligated to do
Well,
that.
we
but-
were just concerned, thinking the
squares.
square that we
Right.
saw.
Yes.
Can I ask you a
blocked
question?
the building, so,
I have
but
my
it isn't.
decals, he's producing them, but I didn't like the pizza words and stuff, so I had that removed. When can I bring that back to you? I can't do this at the special hearing, can I?
no, because unfortunately, it's another whole application for you. It's another
Yes, I
one
know
of,
that.
it's another one of these.
I could go file that probably.
So I don't know what the newspaper deadline is for the publication, but it's at least 2
Okay.
weeks for publication. So if you check with them tomorrow, there may be time for the February meeting.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
all right.
You're talking decals in the lower
In the
windows,
in the
windows,
windows.
none on the second floor?
No.
Thank you.
They took the pizza sign slices out of my requirement. I don't know if you remember those.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
We're working. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
I think
I think that most
drew
of that's
mine down
yours.
here.
I think I
Two.
stole it from you.
I got two of them, there we go.
All right, so, new business. So, other board and commission update, I am just gonna say that CPC meets tomorrow night, and we are voting on applications, and if anybody's interested to please come. There are 14 or 15 applications, plus the debt service that we have to vote for, to move forward for, town meeting. If you're interested, at 6 PM here in this room. I will be here again.
So you officially vote tomorrow.
The plan is to vote, the expectation is that we will start voting tomorrow. Hopefully finish voting tomorrow.
Good luck.
I'm not sure if we will get through all of them or get all of them, but a significant portion, if not all. So any other comments on other boards or commissions?
Just this demolition delay that I can talk
Yes,
about
so
very
that is
quickly.
So we have a subcommittee update for both the historic district guidelines and the demo delay, and I leave it to you folks to tell the rest of us what's going on.
Well, we've been meeting, although we haven't met since before Christmas, right?
It was before Christmas, yeah.
Yeah,
But it
so
was
we
only
have-
just, I was only there for that very beginning, and then you and Bob continued it, so
Right.
I'll let you take it.
Okay, so what, as we were going through the guidelines, we realized one of the places we really needed some teeth was in the demolition delay. And so, looking at what other towns on the Cape had, and looking at what other towns in Massachusetts had, I think I probably looked at, and you and Bob looked at some too, probably a dozen different towns, and really perused them. So the things that I came out with that I thought were important and that we might want to put in ours was that just the design of the demolition delay is different. There's a standard one that's put out by the Historic Commission in Massachusetts, and it's a guideline to use. But one of the things that it has, and many of the other towns have adopted this, is a definition of what the terms are. So that's at the very beginning. We don't have that in ours. So I would suggest that that might be something. Why are you laughing? Did you develop ours?
No,
but you
no, I
didn't.
did not. Because it's one of the things that I think we need to improve on.
Right,
Yes,
so,
yes.
so that's something that I would suggest that we need to add to it. Also, the 12-month delay that we have, we could switch it to 18 months. There are some towns that have it. Chatham has it. What was the other one? There's one other one. Barnstable has it, and Wellfleet has it. All three of those. It may be harder than some of the other things to get through. So we decided, I think you were there when Bob and I were talking
Yep.
about this, that it was probably something that we could give up on for now and just go for the other things. So the things we really feel are necessary in it to add to the existing one is the definition of terms. Then a provision that would be in the event of voluntary demolition, so people either ignore the demolition delay or they don't bother to get one, is that without any kind of permit, that there will be a 2-year delay on them being able to get a building permit. And that's something that's done in towns everywhere. We're like the only one that doesn't have that in
Interesting.
there. Yeah, that was a big surprise.
So in the situation of the one that didn't follow the
Forestry,
rules,
Right,
we could have held them up for 2 years on a building permit on
Right.
that. If the,
so it's onerous. I mean, people would think twice before doing
it's
that.
putting teeth.
And then the other one is demolition by neglect and minimum maintenance requirements. And that's something, Orleans has a really good demolition delay document, and I think they have a lot of the kinds of things that we could, lift from there. But this was one that we all felt the demolition by neglect is something that we really have. I mean, each town has it. But a lot of times when there are estate issues and such, and buildings just sit there. But what Orleans did that I thought was good is they did not apply that to an owner-occupied residence. So for commercial buildings, for buildings that are in an estate, for residences that are
So for the
not
elderly
owner-occupied.
couple that can't afford to
Right,
maintain the
right,
house,
they're not, right.
they're not applying it to them.
Right. So the other thing is, and then there's an emergency demolition section that we thought Orleans did a good job with. And when the building commissioner issues an emergency demolition permit under this section, he has to prepare, or she has to prepare a written report with attached photographic evidence describing the condition of the building or the structure and the basis of the decision to issue an emergency demolition permit and provide a copy to the commission.
Interesting, okay.
So, some of this would be a little bit more work, perhaps, for the building inspector. And one of the things we said, maybe we need to have a sit-down with that person. But on the back of this, and I think you all have it in the packet, I just did a comparison of Cape towns, and so the age of the building. Oh, every place else that I looked at on the Cape, I think they're all 100 years old. The building, 75 years old. Is
Interesting.
what they have gone to. We are one of the few that's at 100. And then pretty much everybody has the same daily, isn't that wild? Wellfleet, remember,
Yeah, I know.
Brenda, when we went
Wow.
to that meeting in Barnstable? Wellfleet really has it together on this historic. They have a lot of people in Wellfleet.
I'd be curious to know if they've collected on that, or if they've been challenged on it.
Do you get
Yeah.
challenged and get appealed on it?
It would be nice to get to the 18-month, because a lot of the applications that come in front of us within that 12-month period, between design, permits, it's really a year if you have intentions, or if you
Right.
plan around it. With 18, we'll probably give a little more bite, and maybe someone could reconsider, like, well, why don't we raise it, new foundation, and do an addition, or knock down the old additions that, just been added on over the years. So it might change the thought process to have it redesigned and keep some of the architectural style.
Would
Do you-
town-owned buildings fall under here too?
Wouldn't that be interesting?
I'm just curious.
Yeah. I don't see why they shouldn't.
They do now.
And our thought was,
They
if you,
do now.
yeah, so if you bought a house and it was by neglect, but you made the purchase, and it came from the board, that 18 months, rather than repairing it in place, that could be applied if you wanted to take it down. So
Yeah.
that was one of the
Yeah.
thoughts. It changes things when you buy, as far
So
as.
my only comment, playing devil's advocate, is for a lot of these people with the 12 months, I understand your point,
Yeah.
it's a wait, and it's not a real delay for them because that's their time frame. Is 6 months gonna make a difference for some people?
Could.
If they wanna take it down, are they just gonna wait and take it down anyway?
Well, we can always just say, why not do a
Right.
6-month delay? It's the same
Right.
I
difference,
think
so.
what
right.
it might.
And I think it's interesting, I think Concord has a 6-month delay, I don't think they have a 12-month.
Well,
It
because
does
they're
have a
really
6-month
into history.
delay.
We talked about
Exactly,
Concord.
exactly.
They're really
I
into
actually
it.
called them and
Yeah,
talked to them.
they have a
and
whole
said,
different
"Really, you only have a
personality."
6-month delay?"
Right,
And I
exactly.
said, people don't question it.
They don't
just,
question it.
and they don't, if you buy in Concord, you spend a
Because
ton of
wherever
money to
you
buy in
live, you
Concord.
know Concord, you know the
Right?
history
Right.
here. Wherever you are in the country,
Yeah,
you know
Exactly.
it. Whereas
Yeah.
here,
people don't revere it as much here as they do. in some
well, I don't think, I know our history goes way back, but it's not the same
Yeah,
impact as the shot heard around the world. I mean, it's just a whole different
Right.
piece of history, and it
And-
means something different.
And I don't know if I explained that during the Seabreeze application. My only concern is, if you got the point I was trying to make, that if we agree to these new buildings being built with the similar design, then they lose all protection. So let's say 70 years down the road, someone can knock that down and build whatever they want. So you lose these great little gambrels and Seabreeze that
Yeah.
will no longer be there in 2, 3, 4 generations from
that's a
us.
good point.
Well,
That's
So
a
that's
really
what I was
good
trying to
point.
articulate. I don't know if
Yeah.
I got the point across, but I think for the owners to understand that's our thought process, why we do that. Because if not, why not just say yes to any drawing that looks like what you're
Right.
putting there?
And make
Right.
Disney World.
Well,
Well, no, I mean,
yes.
but no,
But it,
yeah.
essentially, you just
I like all the designs
you're
everyone brings, yeah.
creating something that you're
But
going
it's
to
much
say looks
bigger. It's a
historic, but
denser
isn't.
That's a
But-
good point, bringing up the density question. But if you have the lot, if you're staying within your lot coverage and
But
your
it's not,
setbacks.
yeah, but it's not the same,
Yeah,
it doesn't present the same way to the street.
yeah, that's a good point.
But my only other comment is that it is not a district, and if we
Right.
want to make it a district, then there's another whole conversation.
That's a whole other
So
conversation.
they're two
Been
different,
there.
I mean, they're two different
Well,
Size,
yeah,
I
when we're
mean-
doing this, we have to always remember, because it's tough when you're doing district and it's just 100-year rules, so it's kind
Exactly.
of tough, yeah.
But here's
Exactly.
another thing that, and this doesn't apply necessarily to this, but they were talking about, and I'm pretty sure it was at the Barnstable meeting we were in, you know how 6A and Kings Highway is all
Mhm.
one historic district? They were talking about, I think there are people looking at this, to take on the Cape, the ocean and the Nantucket Sound side
Mhm.
of the Cape, and making that a historically, what did they call it, a historically significant seascape.
You're saying from
That would be
28 down.
preserved, yes, so that people couldn't put up these, huge buildings on it, that you would, and the thing that got me thinking about that was I was at Red River Beach the other day, walking, and as I went, I did the neighborhood, because it got so windy, I couldn't stand walking in the parking lot. As I'm coming down the street, I look over and I thought, what is that thing going up? There is a huge structure under construction. I think it's on one of the private roads, because you cannot see it from anywhere as you're driving in towards Red River, but it's huge. And it just changes the whole feel, where it had all been like marshland and stuff before. This huge thing that's gonna be a great, and it was really high.
But that's true all over the Cape.
Well, yeah, I guess it is.
You go into Nauset Heights, and,
Oh, yeah.
and you look at like where no one really built over on the water side now,
Mhm.
it's monstrosities, and people wonder how they.
So even more reason to,
It was said to me, if you think about it, where are all the old captain's houses? They were on 28, they weren't on the water.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was that way for a reason.
Yep.
But it's certainly things that we can work on. Is the pleasure of the board that we take a stab at a draft on a demolition delay bylaw revision? Is it a revision? Is it a rewrite?
I think it's worth it.
Probably a rewrite.
It's a
wouldn't you
rewrite.
think?
That's where we're leaning towards, yeah.
So, do either one of you have do you have the pieces that you want to put together?
I could take a stab at it.
Because if you could take a
yeah.
stab at it, and even if it's just on separate sheets, even if it's, this, I want paragraph A to go in here, we can then send it to council to have them
Okay.
look at it and draft it up if you want to, if you want to start with kind of the state's form, or
Right,
start with
right.
Orleans's version and make changes from there, we can. Is it the belief that we need we need a rewrite? We don't just need to amend, we need a rewrite.
Refresh it.
It really needs to be refreshed. I'll look it through. I thought that there was some beauty to the Harwich one in that it was fairly concise and fairly brief. It didn't go on and on as some of them do. But I think it's missing some parts. Like, I really think it needs that definition part. And it also has a whole thing about the Historic Districting Commission in the bylaws, which I don't understand why it's there. It just doesn't seem,
Did it predate
I don't know.
the melding of the two boards?
This is, so it starts out where Orleans starts out with intent and purpose and then the definition. Harwich starts out with historic district and historical commission. And then how the establishment of the district and the powers and duty of the commission. And that's under the demolition delay. So I don't.
The demolition delay is a section of the whole chapter.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we can take a look at it.
Probably it is to identify the combination of the two.
It's the article, right? It's
Right.
chapter 131 in the article that it comes under. And then
To
section 6 is, I think, where the demo delay starts.
Yeah, but this is probably all here just to identify that they
Exactly,
were merged.
exactly. So, okay, we can take a stab at that. Now, Gail had mentioned, you had mentioned
I've been
the
looking,
fact that the demo in some places, the demo
Transfer,
doesn't transfer.
doesn't transfer with the property. It sits with the owner, who, if the property is sold, the new owner then has to reapply.
So is it that the allowance of a demolition permit ends with the owner, or is it that a demolition delay that the delay would start all over again? Do you know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
do.
If we voted a delay,
It's as if, I believe, when I was reading through most of this, it's as if it didn't occur when the building is sold, then the new owner,
has to start from scratch,
right, so.
regardless of whether they're
if
looking
they've-
for a
if
permit or.
the year has expired, and now the building can be, if the same owner was there, he'd have to apply for the new owner could apply for the demolition permit
Mhm.
and go forward, without language that would prevent
Yeah.
that.
I think the thought behind that is that you want to use it as a selling tool for
Of course.
brokers to be like, how they're
Here's what-
selling homes.
Right,
Right,
And then the buyers are coming in,
right.
just some people might see that property and say, I can fix that the way it stands, as opposed to being presented, it's a knockdown and here's the approval. So
Yeah.
it spins your wheels a different way, other
Yep.
than our
But
thought
it-
process, so we don't want that.
yeah, and
So I think that's the whole idea.
but the way it's described, now I know here's an article a year ago in Chatham, where they're talking about closing that loophole, so that the new owners will have to, yeah.
They've
And
got
it's
some-
still in the works, I mean, they haven't
They
gone
have
forward.
some people really working hard on,
Mhm.
well, they've got,
So,
they just seem to have one thing on top of another in
Well,
Chatham.
and they also have a historic business district, unlike
Mhm.
ours, which is just a smaller
Right.
district in general.
and then some language for, well, it's minutes actually from a meeting that I believe is in Duxbury. And they were looking to put that language in, to not be able to transfer the ownership. And and this is, I've kind of been floundering, saying, where did I find it the last time? And I'm looking around. But this gives me great hope, because one fellow who's questioning the fact that they should do that is thinking that it opens the door to litigation, and all sorts of the towns have to fight this with legal issues and whatever. And the person defending it says he's researched all 351 towns in the Commonwealth. 11 have some form of restriction on transferability. And he's called each of those towns, and there has not been one legal
Oh, wow, oh, great,
question
Yeah.
raised. And that doesn't mean it couldn't be, but,
yeah.
you know.
I have found Sarah Korcha is wonderful, but also Christopher Skelly, he had that Preservation Massachusetts, but he's also on the Historic Commission for Massachusetts, and he's really good about getting all kinds of,
So he might be a good person to
Right.
call.
And I found this part very interesting. In the town of Lexington, the transferability was changed via a policy change. It did not have to go to town meeting. It was a matter of interpretation and not legislation.
oh,
So,
interesting, yeah.
I don't know what their wording is and how it could be interpreted.
Lexington has a lot. Lexington is one of the first places I looked at the guidelines, and I think that's the one that was like 74 pages. But, I mean, it's beautifully done. I mean, really, really well done.
But again, Lexington is like Concord.
Right,
Well,
right,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
The two go hand in hand.
Yeah,
So,
they had maps,
next
and
to
they
each
had pictures of examples of things. It was really nicely done.
okay, great. So we're starting to focus on the demo delay,
Correct.
moving that forward. And then we'll move to the guidelines.
The guidelines is a bigger, we feel is a full rewrite,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah, there's a lot of information there, and we think we can just make it into these one little cheat sheets for each. It's
Now,
complicated.
one thing I'd like to mention to you folks, Charlene mentioned it at the planning board meeting. There is going to be a meeting for, I'll say stakeholders. I want to say it's January 31st. It's an all-day meeting. But it is talking about the town's MVP, which is, it's a kind of a, I can't remember what the phrase is on it, what it stands for, but it is kind of the disaster mitigation plan. So, dealing with, and the town's emergency preparedness for it. So whether we're prepared for sea level rise and whether we're prepared for disasters. When you talk sea level rise, I think of the Grove, you know, and things like that. So I don't know if anybody's interested in going to that meeting, if you would like to go to that meeting and see, or participate from a historic perspective. Call Charlene and see if there's any space available.
31st, you said?
I believe it's January 31st.
Will it be here?
I believe it is gonna be here, and I believe it's all day. She was talking about it from the standpoint, there are only so many slots available, but it is to set up a really kind of enhance what already exists for us in a disaster mitigation plan. And they're looking at things like what happened with the tornado last year, and things like, again, sea level rise, climate change, and those things. So if any of you would be interested in attending something like that and seeing it. I think it is a Friday. I know it's a weekday.
I know,
27th is Monday.
There you go.
it is
So, yeah,
Friday,
so
it is
it
a
is
Friday, yeah.
Yeah.
So if anybody's interested in that, on the historic side, I think that would be great if somebody could attend.
So all day?
It's an all day, it's an 8:30 to 4:30, and it's all dependent on what
Can
slots are
Charlene
available.
send us the
I can,
agenda? That'd be,
I can certainly reach out to her tomorrow and
Yeah,
see if
'cause
she
I-
can.
That'd be good,
I'm
yeah.
somewhat available for that, so.
All right, great.
Unless someone else does.
I'm gonna be out of state, so I cannot attend, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and, you know,
You don't want to sit in this room for 8 hours, you said?
can't either.
I'm gonna be in Florida with my parents.
Oh, how nice.
That's much more fun.
Oh, my goodness.
That's great.
You know,
No
Jenny
offense to anybody
Hewitt
else.
is on some state commission for disaster
Recovery.
recovery, and a lot about, you know, all the paper and the books and the
It is amazing when you think about it, that,
town files and such,
you know, you can't just think of it, I know at work, we can't think of it just as like a region, you have to think of like a
Agenda went someplace.
Right. I know when we go to Gulfport and visit Eric's, he has a son and a daughter that live down there. And his son was saying something about getting books. And I said, and he needed money and he couldn't do it. I said, well, go to the library. He said, we don't have one. Since Katrina, they left.
Oh, wow.
You don't think about it.
Yeah.
I live at the library.
Okay,
This is
so
great, you guys did a great job.
if either of you could get me what you have for a markup,
Okay.
you know, and we can, and I'll reach out and see about, getting permission to use town council to kind of finalize a draft for us to
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
work from.
Yep.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, it'll be a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll be realistic, it's January.
So we're not gonna get
I
it.
don't think we're gonna get it for May. There is, however, talk of a possible fall town meeting.
So that's good,
So
because, you
if
know, we
there's a-
want it to be right. and
If
this
there's a
gives us
possible
time to get it.
fall town meeting, our timing's perfect,
Yeah,
you know, to really start working on it now. It gives it time, it has to go to the Board of Selectmen, it has to go
right.
to all of the places that it would need to go to kind of pass muster. And we're also going to be, the DCPC regulations and those zoning changes and those regulations are gonna start, coming into fruition. I would also say if any of you would be interested in participating in that committee, to reach out to Charlene and let her know, because I think they're trying to figure out what the committee is gonna look like. There may be a representative from the planning board on it, but I don't think it's all gonna be, it's not going to be the planning board itself. I think they're looking at forming a separate committee to do that. And obviously, one of the aspects down there is historic, so if anybody is interested in piping in on that committee as well. There will be more to come on that, But Charlene's hoping to get things kind of started this spring and get it moving. I talked about CBC already. We talked about the demolition delay bylaw. Are there any other updates from board members? None? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Gail's made the motion. Who's seconding it? Brendan seconding it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned.
It's a wrap.